Whoops. Let's not show all the goodies.
I know, man. That's okay. We'll let the people come on in and hit the timer. I
Oh,
got it.
right. Mm-hmm. Hold on. And go.
All right. All right. Well, here we are. Man, it is such a great day. We've been looking forward to this. We've been hyping this. We've been talking about this. Thank you guys for coming in and getting in the chat nice and early. My name is George Teague. I am your host. Used to play for the Crimson Tide, Dallas Cowboys. Is how I finished. Some people will say, you don't talk about the Packers enough and all that kind of stuff. Listen, I had a 9-year NFL career. I'm happy with every team that I played on, except for one. And we probably can talk about that on another show, but we got a really, really good show lined up for you today. Okay. First, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you get the likes. Thank you if you are on um, the Bama Standard show right now, tuning in. It's going to be a really good one. We got a special guest in Cole Cubelic on today. So what we're going to do first half of the show, we're going to talk to him about SEC, give you a great preview, and then once he is done, we're actually going to give you a teaser on what it's going to look like with our film and how we're going to be breaking down stuff from week to week. So with that, it is time for us to officially start Teague's Take. Let it roll. All right, this is your true welcome this time into season 5. Man, we got so many things. How do you guys like this new look? We'd be interested to see for the ones who are back into Teague's Take, those that have been following and doing things. Let us know what you think about our new screen and all the stuff that we have going on there. I'm pretty excited about it. Just to jump in is great when you can do a podcast with your son for these many years. So let me go ahead and get to my run out though really quick. So I want to talk about missed opportunities. Missing opportunities can be a tough pill to swallow, but it's common part of life, right? Opportunities often come with their own set of challenges and uncertainties, and sometimes, despite our best efforts, we let them slip by. So it's important to remember that missing an opportunity isn't the end of the road. Each missed chance can offer valuable lessons and pave the way for new responsibilities or new possibilities. I'm sorry. Instead of dwelling on what was lost, focus on what can be learned and how to apply those lessons to future endeavors. Embrace the idea that every missed opportunity can be a stepping stone towards personal growth and new beginnings. And that's my run out. So I want to go ahead and bring in my buddy, my son, the co-host of the show, JT. I'm sorry, he likes to go by James. I don't know if he likes James or JT
Well, I
better.
put
Which
I
one?
put James
What's
on the
with
screen. That's what I typed in today. That's
him?
so there it is.
All right. Well, y'all call him James. I call him Knucklehead uh, because he's my little knucklehead. All right. So, JT, we got a whole lot of things. First thing that we need to do is we need to thank our title sponsor, Black Friar Pub, right? There's Bama's home in Dallas. It's down in McKinney Avenue. If you're ever looking to watch Alabama games, any of them, you need to go there and visit them. JT, we got another sponsor that you may want to talk about.
Yeah, we've also got a sponsor, On Three. It is ONTHREE. They've actually redone our website for us, so um, I should have linked that down in the description. But as you'll see later, we are starting a newsletter that will go straight to your phone, and they do what they call microsites for athletes and coaches, and it allows you to show your personality more than just on social media and what you're doing. They really want you to show um, all of yourself, all of your passions outside of football as well. So You'll see some great things coming from us there too.
Yeah, and you'll hear more about that a little bit later on. Okay, but I want to go ahead and introduce our guest that we got to come on. I'm so happy about this. I haven't been able to say thank you enough to him, just because of who he is and what he does, and giving us the opportunity for him to come on and talk to us about the SEC. So this gentleman, he's a former college player. You can tell we don't show favorites all the time. We just want to give you guys good content, right? People that shoot you real, that are fun, but give you great information. So he's a college football player. He played at Auburn between 1996 and 2000. He's a center. I imagine we're going to ask him some kind of center question at some point in time. But we'll see, because we had so many problems with that. He is now a sports analyst for the SEC network and, with ESPN. He has his own podcast as well. You guys need to make sure you go to his YouTube page and follow that. It is called The Cube Show. It's his podcast, man. It's great. Okay. He is also a host of a radio show now in the mornings on Jocks Radio. Is called the McElroy and Cubelic in the Morning Show. Okay. I think it's a 3-hour show. I'll make sure we do that. I think it's 7 to 10 in the mornings. And they talk about that. It's on Jocks Radio and on the WUMP in Huntsville. Okay, so let's bring in our special guest. Everybody give him a round of applause. Cole Cubelic.
That's probably the best introduction that you've done for any of our guests ever.
I was about to say, I'll take it either way. I don't know if it's the best or not, but I'll take it. The enthusiasm is nice. I like it.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you again, man, for coming on.
No, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
I want to start with two things real quick before you get going. One is James for hire, because technically I need some of the support here, obviously, with what I'm doing on my show. And this stuff that he's doing is amazing. I'm really impressed. Two, as somebody who played at Auburn, and there were never a lot of, all the paintings always seemed to be about Alabama happenings. There were very few Auburn paintings. I guess Daniel just didn't want to do those when things went our way. So I would always kind of see those and just immediately look the other way. And I noticed this because of the highlights in the beginning. And then I saw a painting in the mall one day, and it was defending the star. And it was you cracking T.O. at the 50 when he went and put the ball down on the star. And I was like, now that one I would put in my house. Like that one I would hang for sure. It was one of my favorite moments of your career. But obviously watched you a lot at Alabama and then in the NFL. But that was a moment that has always stuck out for me. It was awesome.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do, because you've been so gracious to come on and with this. I'll make you this promise right now and say this. I'm going to send you a picture of that. I'm going to frame it. I'm going to send it to you. If you really want to put it up,
I will.
You can put it up wherever you would like to do that. I will do that. Okay. So let's get in it. We know your time is very valuable. People are wanting to hear what you got to say and all that kind of stuff. And thank you for that. But JT, you want to start this out with?
Yeah. So I'm going to start with a little bit of a different question, because I know where he's going to want to go after I'm done asking you these two. So the first one I have for you is this scenario. Aliens have come to the planet Earth. They have decided that you, Cole, can save humanity if you can show them one game. You can time travel, and you can take them to one game to get them to be college football fans. Which game are you taking them to?
Now, we're going individual game, or you're just asking like a particular year Rose Bowl, particular year Iron Bowl, or we're just saying like one specific game? If it's one specific game, it's got to be USC Texas in the Rose Bowl.
Okay,
I just that game was so back and forth. The individual performance is incredible, especially too if you watch SportsCenter like the 28 days leading up, and they just told you how it was never going to happen and how Texas was going to get beat by 50. Literally I remember I was just out of college for a couple of years, and I was like every day I would sit there and go, what are these Texas kids thinking when they see this? Like, no, no one even says they can play within 4 touchdowns of this team. That would be it. If it was just any game in general, not a specific year, I think you guys know it would be the Iron Bowl. And for me, it would probably be the 2000 Iron Bowl, first one back at Bryant-Denny Stadium, my senior year when it was like 17 degrees and sleeting, 9-0. Just my kind of slow it down, like grind it out type of football game. But there's a long list of Iron Bowls that I could choose to take them to. But it would be either one of those Iron Bowls, or I would have to go back to that USC Texas Rose Bowl. Just incredible game.
I think that's a good pick. I was trying to think of one myself, and for some reason that one didn't cross my mind. But yeah, that one's definitely at the top of the list. Okay,
that one, or maybe I don't know if you guys have ever had a chance to go to Army Navy, but just
it's
because
on my
there's
bucket list.
I mean, there's so many different things happening, and I can imagine people that have never seen it would just have no. If you went to that game only first, and you thought that's how it operated, I can just imagine that you would say, "Yeah, I want to go. I'm going to do this every week. I'm down. Like, throw me. Let's go. I'll sign up for this every Saturday for the rest of my life, because just all of it that goes with that game is unbelievable."
Okay. Well, then you reminded me of another question. So now I have 3 instead of 2. Other than the Iron Bowl, we've decided, the college football czar has decided there is no more rivalry week. We can save one rivalry, and it's not the Iron Bowl. Which one would you save?
But it's Army Navy. I just said it. But let's just say we exclude that one, because I actually think that's kind of an easy answer. I'm always going to lean that way. And people hate this answer. I got in a couple of fights on set at SEC Media Days about this. For me, it's the Egg Bowl, because when I think rivalries, I think hate, I think vitriol, I think personal, I think sticks with you no matter what. And a lot of the guys, we got a lot of new Texas and Oklahoma people coming to the SEC here, so they wanted to go Red River, Red River. I don't recall a lot of seasons ruined by the Red River shootout or rivalry. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say, but I'll just say both. Because I know teams that have lost that game and then still been in the national championship hunt or conference championship hunt later in the year. The thing about the Egg Bowl is, and I understand nationally, a lot of people might not understand it, and this is not a knock at the two programs, but they haven't played for a lot of SEC championships. They haven't competed for a lot of national championships. So for me, that ups the level of that game. The stakes are raised even higher than maybe even, say, the Iron Bowl, Red River Shootout, other games like that, Ohio State, Michigan, because it matters that much more, because they're not using it as a platform to go play for something that much better. And then I just think being an in-state rivalry, not being a neutral site game, going back and forth, and that has been some of the nastiest football I have ever seen. Now, it's been cleaned up here the last 2-3 years, but you go back like just before COVID, that game was ugly, man. And parts of that I kind of love. Like, I kind of love when you just want to put the guy across the field in the dirt. Like, I've always said, and George, I don't know how you feel about this, I've always said the Iron Bowl was one of the cleanest games I ever played in. And I guess my theory on that was, because there's so much on the line, because it means so much, and because there have been so many close games, you never wanted to be the guy that screwed it up. You never want to be the one to drop the ball or get a flag or jump off sides. So I was just always more laser focused in that game. I wasn't worried about people were saying or doing. Like, I just wanted to do my job, help my teammates, and then do whatever we could to get a win.
Yep. Don't lose it.
That Egg Bowl is something else, man. Like, they don't care if they lose it. They don't care if they get the coach fired. Like, they want to beat the other team, embarrass the other team, embarrass the fans. It's next level. And just because those teams have not been where Alabama, Auburn, Texas, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Michigan have been the last 20, 30 years of college football, does not mean that it doesn't give you everything that a rivalry game should be.
All right. Okay.
All right. And then the last one is, I heard you on a podcast very recently, and you were talking about your experience being in Jordan-Hare Stadium just last year for the Iron Bowl.
We're doing this early in the show?
Yes. I just go ahead and get it out of the way. So, I don't necessarily want you to tell me about how you felt about the play itself, but I want you to give our audience the surrounding story around that, and the experience that you had there towards the end of the game.
My children are 9, 7, and 4. At that time, they were, I guess, 8, 6, and 3. And we had never been to a college football game together because I'm working every Saturday in the fall. The previous year, Auburn hosted Texas A&M. That's the game I interviewed Carnell. They came to the game, but we didn't go to the game together. I got there an hour or two before they did. We hung out for 10, 15 minutes on the sideline before the game. They went to their seats. I worked the game, and that was it. So we didn't take it all in as a family. And I got the Egg Bowl last year. My wife knew how much I wanted that game. I've wanted it for a long time. And I came home and I said, I got good news, bad news. She's like, okay. I said, I got the Egg Bowl. And she's like, yes, you've wanted this game. And then I think it kind of hit her. We do Thanksgiving with her family in Decatur, Alabama every year. Her parents are amazing. It's an awesome time. And we all look forward to it. And she kind of took a step back and she said, no Thanksgiving. And I said, no Thanksgiving. She goes, okay, get us a place to stay and take us to the Iron Bowl then. And we're good. Yeah. And I was like, okay. So I got to work, made it happen. And I have this very weird thought process with how I view Iron Bowls, because some of my favorite games are Iron Bowls that Auburn lost. The 98 Iron Bowl, being in the last one at Legion Field, it's one of my most memorable games ever. I grew up in Homewood, Alabama. Legion Field, the upper deck said the football capital of the South. That's what it was to me. It was the football capital of my world. SEC championship, James George. People forget about that game was there first. Yep. Iron Bowls, Bama, Tennessee, the CFL, the USFL, high school championship playoff games. I mean, all that was my football mecca. Legion Field was when I was growing up. And to be able to put on an Auburn uniform, play in that game for the last time in that stadium, there was just nothing else like it for me personally. And even though we lost that game, which was awful, it was an incredible experience. Same thing this past year. My children and my wife stayed on the sideline and found a way to kind of finagle that. My kids were up on the equipment boxes, jumping up and down, like dancing to swag surfing. My son had this like Guy Fieri orange wig with the spiked hair that he found in our condo we were staying in. And I guess he thought he had to have that on the whole game. We go to SEC Nation before the game. He gets one of the regions, like pull apart signs that says War Eagle. He was doing it an hour before kick, and he was doing it right before that play. Like he thought it was his duty, his civic duty, to be pulling that sign apart for the entire game. I had at least 80 text messages from people in the stands saying, we're having more fun watching you and your kids than we are the game. Because they're just, all over the place. And so that last series, my wife's like, what do you think? And I was like, I've seen this play before. I don't like this. It's not good. I know how this story ends. Didn't think it would end that way. But I would walk up to the sideline and watch the plays, and they would stay back. And they were on the opposite end of the field where they were driving. And I didn't feel good about it. And then the bad snap happened, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. And I walked over, because there's a timeout. I walked over to that equipment crate, and I got my 4-year-old, then 3. He's all over the place. He had like 11 Chick-fil-A chocolate chip cookies. He didn't even know what he was doing. He was on cloud 9. But I got my daughter, my oldest, and my middle child, my son. And I said, listen, do me a favor here. I said, watch the game. Watch the actual play. I said, don't watch the Jumbotron. Don't watch Albie. Don't watch the cheerleaders. Don't watch the fans. Don't watch the sideline. Watch the game, because you are going to remember this for the rest of your life. And 4th and 31 happened. And
they're going to remember it for the rest of their life.
She will remember that for the rest of her life for reasons that I did not anticipate. But I turned around and began to go back to that equipment. I kind of waited for a minute. I'm like, flag, like signal,
review,
like,
something.
Do it, something, any. I'll take anything right now. And I look back, and my 8-year-old daughter is ugly crying. I mean, literally just bawling. And I'm like, okay, we got to switch to dad mode here. Like, this is different. So I go back, give her a big hug, and she's like, you said I remember this forever. And I said, you will. I said, this is your first Auburn game with dad. This is your first college football game with dad. I said, you will not remember the score. You won't remember that play. You will remember doing this with me and your brothers and your mom. And I tweeted something about it after the game. It was a picture of all of us and just how incredible the experience was. And I got a couple smart-ass replies immediately about the score of the game, or 4th and 31. And I just told the guy on Twitter, I said, listen, you cannot ruin it for me. You can't. I don't care about the outcome, the score. I sat there and watched my children fall in love with Auburn football that day. And it was one of the most special days of my life, one of the most incredible days of my life. Again, like I said, first college football game, first Iron Bowl, first Auburn game together. And no, it did not end the way that we wanted to. And yeah, it pissed me off. And I told her, I said, I'm glad it makes you upset, because it tells me it means something to you. And the best part is, and George, I know you this, like all parents know this. I mean, DNA can be a weird thing. My 6-year-old, now 7, he comes bebopping around the crate, And he looks up and he says, "What's wrong with her? What's her problem? It's just a game. It's just a game. What's wrong with her?" And I was just like, "You are your mom. She is me, and it's okay. We can be different, but this is where I am, and you can run along and be with her right now because I would have been in the exact same spot." So, yeah, it was an awesome experience. It was an awesome time. Unfortunately, Auburn didn't pull it out, but man, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Different score or anything. The way that it went was exactly what it needed to be for us as a family.
Yeah, we appreciate you sharing that. It's pretty awesome, man. And I'm glad JT was able to bring that up and know that, because it's those special moments that we all wish we could experience.
Absolutely.
Just being with family and things of that nature. So thank you for that. Roll Tide John O. Thank you, Cuts by Jones, for being in as well and interacting. Okay, so we know we got about another 15, 16 minutes with you, so we want to talk a little bit of football and SEC stuff with you, if you can oblige us with a little bit of that for a little bit. So but I'm not going to flip straight to Alabama, right? We know this kind of an Alabama-centric station, but we want to talk all about the SEC. And I really wanted to know about the transfers, because you get a chance to look and analyze and study everybody on it. Is there anybody just across the league that you saying, hey, these guys are going to be the most impactful as transfers?
Yeah.
And from what team and why?
George, there's a boatload. I think Ole Miss, it's not just that Ole Miss has gotten so many, but they have a couple guys that can change the personality of that team. I think we're actually getting to the point now we're forgetting about some of the early quality transfers at certain teams, just because probably there's been so many, especially in certain places. But Juice Wells, a wide receiver, I thought he was the best wide receiver in the SEC going into last season. He is a dynamo when he's healthy. I don't think he's coverable. He can be a catch and run guy. He can be a down the field guy. He attacks the football. I also know what his personality is like inside the facility, and he's the kind of guy that you want. He's going to challenge everybody else in there. And you put him across from Trey Harris with Caden Priestcorn at tight end, mobile quarterback in Jackson Dart, and they've upgraded that offensive line with some transfer kids also. They could be stupid dangerous if he's healthy and he's going on offense. And also think on defense, Princely Umanalean, an edge defender from Florida for Ole Miss, he has legit speed off the edge. Like, he's got twitch off the edge. He can bend. He's flexible. Ole Miss hasn't had a guy to rush the passer like that, probably since like a Marquise Haynes back when Hugh Freeze was the head football coach. So
wow.
I just think those guys make them different. I look at a Nick Scorton at Texas A&M, edge defender from Purdue, who could be a great pass rusher, but I also look at it as what he could do for Shamar Turner, who I think is maybe the best defensive lineman in the SEC, and help free him up a little bit more to get some one-on-one, some different things like that. Trey Moore, who's going from UTSA to Texas, he's going to be a different type edge defender than they've had. And losing those 2 D tackles that they lost, they're going to need to generate some kind of a pass rush and be a little bit different. Like a Rocket Sanders from Arkansas to South Carolina. I mean, he has the ability to be one of the best running backs in college football. And he just has been a little bit dinged up. If he's healthy and he's the Rocket Sanders that we've seen at full speed at Arkansas, he could make South Carolina a totally different football team. In some of the guys that we don't really know about, but maybe could have that potential, let's say a Brock Vandergriff at Kentucky, who's a 5-star quarterback at Georgia, didn't play a ton, has the ability. He might go in there with Bush Hamden's new offense and light the world on fire. He's got a great group of receivers, a great group of tight ends, some good backs. The 2 backs that are going to Missouri. Nate Noel feels like he's been playing college football for 11 years. But he's run that stretch play at for a long time. He knows it. He's got a feel for it. And Marcus Carroll, the kid they got from Georgia State, he can go. He's a little bit bigger, more physical, more downhill. But they got 2 really good backs that I think are going to make them a little bit different. So Parker Brailsford at Alabama, being able to hold down the middle of that offensive line. He's a really solid technical football player. I think he could be a guy that helps. On offense at Texas, they go get a tight end from Alabama that runs 22.5 miles an hour. That could be one that completely changes what their offense is. So I hate to say it because I don't like all of it, but I think there's almost one on every team that could make them that different. And like at Auburn, I think it's a little more collective where, you went and got Robert Smith from Georgia State, a slot receiver that's really good. You go get Keandre Lambert-Smith from Penn State, receiver that's really good. You'll get a tackle from Mississippi State, couple transfer D tackles, I think Hugh did the right thing by saying we need to upgrade multiple spots. We don't just need to go get one superstar at one place. So unfortunately, fortunately for a lot of teams, but not fortunate because of the way that it's all headed, I think there's a lot of guys across the league that are going to help a lot of teams.
So let me ask you about that since you did that, and we'll come back because you hit on Auburn there, right? And you had already kind of talked about the play and how it ended and all that kind of stuff. You had some really big ups and maybe some downs last year. But how do you look at Auburn's roster right now? How would you grade it? And can they be competitive enough to stay, one of the top teams early with new people coming in, like Oklahoma, Texas?
I think they can exceed expectations, George. I really do. Now, the expectations for most people, 6, 7 games. Yeah. Can they get a game or two past that? 8. I feel pretty good about 9 would be a stretch. But start with the receiver room that's going to be totally different. And the thing that I think people maybe don't quite understand is that it's not just that there are some better receivers that are going to be there. It's what the receivers completely lacked last year. They couldn't separate, George. They could not get open. They couldn't find separation, period. And then when some of those balls were catchable without that separation, they didn't do a very good job helping the quarterback every now and then. Outside of Fairweather at tight end, there just weren't a lot of guys that went up and made difficult catches. And at some point in time, you got to help your quarterback out. Not everybody's going to be wide open all the time. So I mentioned you got Robert Smith from Georgia State in the slot, good catch and run guy. Keandre Lambert-Smith from Penn State, I think he's kind of B+ across the board, just solid at just about everything. And he's a veteran. He's played a lot of football. Cam Coleman, the freshman, I think is going to be the real deal. You have 2-3 other freshmen that may be heavy contributors. I think the offensive line, you played Connor Lew at center last year late. He was a freshman. I think he's going to be a really good football player. I think he's a guy that's going to be one of the better centers in the SEC. You finally have a right guard that we've kind of been waiting on that has a lot of physicality, that's sort of raring to go, that's lost a little bit of weight, now understands the playbook. I think it's going to be ready to go. Tutal over at right tackle, I think it's going to be fine. Dylan Wade slides down at left guard. So that position, I think, can be a little bit better. I'm worried about left tackle. But I think the offensive line's a step ahead of last year. And Peyton Thorne showed you he's got mobility. He can move around a little bit. He did it late in the season. And I've seen him play good football. It's on film. I've seen his Michigan State film that was good. And I just think he was a little bit lost at times because the protection wasn't there. The run game wasn't consistent. And like I said, there wasn't any separation from the receivers. They became easy to defend. The New Mexico State game is unacceptable. I'm not going to try to say that it is. I'm not going to make it sound better than it was. But there were certain games that I watched that did not have Hugh Freeze's fingerprints on the offense. That was one of them. It was as vanilla of a plan as you're going to get, really on both sides of the ball. And when you watch New Mexico State operate their offense that day, it was what Auburn was supposed to be. Multiple reads on every play, forcing people to be out of position, forcing conflict defenders on a regular basis. And Auburn didn't do that day. I think they thought they could just line up, run the football, get out of there with a win, and then try to go play Alabama. And unfortunately, Hugh Freeze has had a few of those during the course of his career. He's going to have to find a way to get around that. I think his fingerprints on the offense a little bit more is going to help. I think the linebacker core can be solid. The secondary will be okay. I'm worried about the defensive line because the edge defenders are light. I don't know if they hold up all year, and I don't really know if there's a true disruptive defensive tackle on the roster. I think they added a couple that are going to help go get good reps, but I don't know if that side of the football can be anywhere close to dominant. But if the offense, Jarquez, nobody's talking about Jarquez Hunter, and he might be the most proven back in the league. So I think they'll be able to run the football. And if those receivers can find some space and can create it and then make some plays on top of that, I think Auburn's offense will be better than people think, and I think they're a game or two ahead of where a lot of people believe they will be.
All right. Okay. All right. Good stuff. All right. Then sleepers, right? You're talking about, there's so much talk about Mizzou.
Yeah, for sure.
James has already said he doesn't like this. He wants to talk.
I just don't get it. So I understand how bowl games are different, but you and I, Dad, sat and watched them play Ohio State's backups, and it was not like they had their starters in, and it wasn't like they were. To me, it wasn't a great showing. I mean, they were playing inspired football, but like for the longest time, it was 13-10, and that was my first impression. So I just don't know how I get from that game to, hey, these guys might actually like be able to make some noise and like make a SEC championship run and top 10, top 15 in the country. I didn't see that from that football team. So if somebody, Cole, if you could explain to me how this hype train started. And
I think it started.
Warranted?
I believe it's warranted. I like Mizzou this year. There are people that will tell you a lot of close games last year. I don't think that those automatically flip, or else Nebraska would have won 10 or 11 games once in the last 11 years, because people have been saying that these close wins or close losses are going to turn into wins every year, and it hasn't. It's not going to. So, and I give teams credit for winning close games, because it's hard. It's hard to hold on to a win, or it's hard to come back and get a win late. I love their offensive line. I think Armand Membu is the best right tackle in the SEC. They had a freshman tight end last year, Brett Norfleet, who was an absolute grinder. He is a monster. He's fine catching the ball, running routes, but he is hell on wheels when he is in line at the line of scrimmage helping in the run game. I mentioned the 2 backs earlier that they're going to bring in. Keep in mind also, Brady Cook at this point last year was not the starting quarterback, and he wasn't the starting quarterback in the first few games, and I think he got booed in the first game last year. If he takes half the step that he took last year, he's going to be a pretty good SEC quarterback. I really felt like he found his calm in the pocket last year. He panicked a lot the year before, left the pocket way too early the year before, but he's got good wheels and he can break you down that way. So it's another thing you have to defend. And then I think when you talk about that receiver corps, Luther Burden's the best receiver in the SEC. You could argue he's the best receiver in college football. Theo East is a big physical outside target. Mookie Cooper is as legit of a slot receiver in this league as you're going to find. And here's what nobody talks about. Kirby Moore is incredible calling plays for this group. He gives you window dressing, motions, shifts, personnel groupings. He is going to steal your eyes on almost every play. And with good players to go along with that, and a team that's going to lean on being physical, I think this is a little bit of a different story, kind of a different mindset. I think some ground and pound physical football is coming full circle. George, I don't know how much preseason football you've watched, but I think I've seen Detroit, Seattle, Las Vegas, and one other team run I formation this preseason.
2 backs.
Pittman said he's going to do it. He's like, we're running I formation this year. So when I heard about that, I called a couple of defensive coaches around the SEC, and the majority of them I'm talked to said, we've never defended it. My linebackers won't know how to fit it.
They don't know what shoulder to put in there.
No, think about that.
It's
and
like,
then think about it.
Trying to figure out how to defend wing T and wing option and ISO all the time, and these guys are saying they've never defended it before.
And think about where we've gone with linebackers. I mean, they're all
smaller, faster,
now.
And
yeah, like George would be like an off-the-ball will linebacker in today's football, like because they want you to be able to run. These guys are 212, 218, and now all of a sudden you're gonna. This kid's never done it, and you're gonna say, "Oh yeah, he gets a 7-yard head start." You got to take him on. Oh, then by the way, you got to get off that block and try to go make the play. No, they're not going to be happy about it. So, and I'm not saying it's just going to work for Arkansas, but I do think that the teams that can sort of impose their will to a certain extent are going to have some advantages, specifically later in the year, because it's going to be a long year. This is more football than we've ever played for a lot of these teams. And you look at that runway that Missouri has going into the season. I mean, it is light the first 5-6 weeks of the year. Now, I'll say this about Missouri. This is where I'm kind of on board with you, James. Everybody has this mindset of, 10-2 and you're in, 10-2 and you're in. Like everywhere, it doesn't matter. 10-2, you're in, especially SEC or Big Ten. I think there's a handful of teams that 10-2 does not get them in, and Missouri is one of them. I think Notre Dame is one of them. I think Penn State's one of them. I think Ole Miss is one of them. Because if you look at those schedules and those teams go 10-2, you're going to need to start to present me your best wins, and there will not be many of them, depending on the 2 that they lost. But then if it's not those that they lost, then they lost to crummy teams. So we're not talking about you anyway. So I think the 10-2 narrative is one that's a little bit lazy because people just say, oh, you're in. Well, not if there's 11 teams that are 10-2, you're not. And this is where people are really going to get mad. Look at the AP poll right now. Let's say that's how it ended. There are 2 SEC teams in the top 12 that are not getting into the playoff, if that's how it ended. because the Big 12 champion wouldn't be there,
Yeah.
and the Group of 5 team wouldn't be in there.
Mm-hmm.
So 11 and 12 are automatically out immediately. It's just not going to happen. So wait for that to happen. Y'all want to know what's going to piss people off? When somebody's ranked
I
number,
can't wait. I can't
when
wait.
the final ranking, somebody's 10 or 11 and they don't get in. And they're
Oh.
saying, well, hold on, it's 12-team playoff. We've been 8 or 9 for the last 6 weeks. And now all of a sudden, what? Boise gets in over us? What are you talking about? That's where people are going to lose it when this thing starts getting going.
Okay. Well,
Okay, real quick, yes or no's, because we're running out of time, and I got 2 user questions. So, Sam Pittman on the hot seat, yes or no?
He absolutely is. And it's unfortunate because I love the guy. But yes.
And Billy Napier, yes or no?
absolutely. I know you're asking him, but
Well, yeah.
Lord.
Okay, so then the follow up is, what record or what do they need? What do each of those coaches need to do this season to save their job?
The thing with Sam that I actually spoke at the Memphis Touchdown Club last night. There was an Arkansas fan I was talking to afterwards, and we were going back and forth about this. And he said, my fear is that if he has a good year this year, then what happens the next year? And I said, oh, no, we're past that. The question you have to ask yourself, what can he do to make all this go away? Win a national championship? I mean, yeah. If he won the SEC, probably would get a contract that would protect him and things would be okay. But still, like, it's going to have to be a pretty amazing year. And they don't have the personnel to have that kind of year against that schedule
again. They lost their quarterback too. And a running back.
So what are you going to, I mean, like if they win 8 this year, that's a hell of a year. So you just, okay, we'll do this all again next year. We're just going to like roll it over again the next year. And then if he wins 8 or 9 the next year, okay, we'll do it one more year. It's almost like a time bomb at Arkansas. Mm-hmm. Like you're just waiting on that clock to count down. And I hate that. It's disappointing. I don't feel like it should be that. For Billy, I mean, that's a team, by the way, if they go 10-2, we're not even having a discussion about it. They're in. Like, stop talking. That team is in at 10-2. They might be in at 9-3. That schedule's tough.
Tough schedule.
But I think, once again, with Florida, I think they're going to be better than people think. If you took Graham Mertz's numbers and put them on 80 teams in college football, we're talking about how they can make the playoff. With Florida, people are saying they're going to win 3 or 4 games. It's ridiculous. I think they have a couple good running backs. I think their offensive line is going to be better. Great quarterback. Year 2 of the defense. The defensive line is going to be okay. It'll be fine. I think the D-line could be solid. They'll be young at some places on the defense, mainly secondary, but I think they still have some talent. And I think Billy's a hell of a coach. It's just some things haven't gone his way early, but he's absolutely on the hot seat. Yes. If he doesn't win at least 7, maybe 8, I hate putting a number on it because what if you say he's got to get to 9 and he wins 8 and he beats Georgia and LSU?
Yeah,
you're not getting rid of him. So,
okay. Well, thank you for that. And if you don't mind, we need to ask you one more. We're about a minute and a half over on your time or whatnot. But it'd be crazy not to ask you what you're thinking about Alabama and how this is going to look. How does Alabama fare this first year under Coach DeBoer?
Alabama should be in the playoff this year. I mean, you have an elite talent at quarterback. And you have a head coach, and I understand that Grubb and Huff didn't come with him, but it's Kalen's offense. Kalen can call the offense. Kalen can design the offense. Like, he is the maestro of the offense. And just because he's not calling the plays doesn't mean that he's not helping design it or helping it look a certain way. Nobody wanted Michael Penix, and he turns him into an early draft pick that's going to have a chance to start in the NFL. He got Jay Kaner drafted in the 2nd round. Jay Kaner was an amazing college quarterback at Fresno State. You go back to even lower levels, and he's won everywhere he's been. I love Kalen DeBoer. I think he's a hell of a coach. I think he's a hell of a human. And I also think if you were going to transition from the greatest coach in college football history who coached that way, Kalen was probably the right way to go from a personality standpoint, because that facility is totally different. It doesn't operate on the same wavelength, and that's not right. That's not wrong. We don't know what it is, but I think with today's college football, that was the time to go ahead and do that. I'm a little worried about the receiver position. I'm a little worried about the tackle position. Yeah. I don't think they have as much juice on the defensive line as they have in the past, but they got one of the best linebacker tandems in college football, a ton of talent in the secondary. You go get a couple of DBs like Keon Sabb that have played good football other places. You bring Malachi Moore back. You're going to be able to mix and match a lot of things in the back end, which with Kane playing that vision defense coverage that he plays, it's going to be really beneficial. I think they need to find a legitimate, consistent pass rusher. and they need to be okay at tackle. And the good news with that is you're going to have two good backs. I mean, Justice Haynes is your hammer. Jam Miller's got real juice. He can go. So he can be a catch and run screen guy or a perimeter run guy. Not that he can't run between the tackles, but he can just be a little bit of a change-up guy. And the thing that I like about this team that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, I think they have a great tight end room. I mean, you've got a Robbie Utes who's like your ultimate hard hat, dirty work, like I'll do all the stuff that nobody else wants to do guy. Fullback, H-back, inline, whatever. He'll do it all. CJ Dupree's kind of your traditional inline tight end that can flex if he has to. And then you got Johnson who can go out there and be a big, tall red zone threat that can attack the football. So I think they have a tight end room that could help the tackles, that could allow you to formation people and do some different things from how your offense looks and kind of how you present things. And then once again, you've got an elite talent at quarterback that is going to be hard to defend no matter how you spin it. And I've heard that he has improved in some areas passing the football that he struggled in last year. And if that happens, they don't have to have Ruggs, Judy, and Smith to be a really good offensive football team. So They got a great staff. I mean, two sitting head coaches left to be on that defensive staff. I mean, that says a lot, number one, about Kane Womack not having the ego to say, well, I don't want any other head coaches coming in here. He wanted his guys, and he went and got Mo Linguist, and he went and got Kane Womack, and they got a great staff over there now. Kept Freddie, which was great. There's no reason they shouldn't be in the playoff this year. And I know the schedule's a little bit tougher, but they got multiple playoff potential teams on that schedule. But with the talent they have, the coaching staff they have, the experience they have, they should push for the playoff, and they should be able to make a run in the playoff if they stay healthy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I do appreciate it, man.
I got to get one more because we got to get our audience in here. This is from the Bama Standard Network, Justin Riley. He said, Cole, love watching you in college despite being on the other side. What was that matchup like between you and Cornelius Griffin when you played Alabama?
Cornelius Griffin was a handful. I mean, a legitimate handful, heavy-handed, not as thick and wide as like a Gerard Warren or a Marcus Stroud, but he could get you with quickness too. And that's where he was different because he could hold the point, and he only looked like he weighed like 285. I know he's probably a little heavier than that. But, man, his hands were strong. And actually, I'll tell you, he's one of the nicer guys you'd play against. Like, didn't talk a lot of trash and all that kind of stuff. But, I mean, him and Jared Johnson, some of the guys we played against, man, not a lot of fun. But Cornelius, he's one of those guys I throw, and I tell the story a lot. When Tuberville first got to Auburn, our strength coach, Kevin Yoxel, who I love, he came from UCLA. And all we did was condition. We conditioned and conditioned and conditioned and conditioned. And my bench press went down over 100 pounds in one off season. I was the strongest player on the team. And so he and I had some words. And I remember sitting in his office and saying, listen, I understand that you and Cade McNown and Skip Hicks and those track meets you've been playing out there in the Pac-12, that's all fun and games. But I got Gerard Warren. I got Marcus Stroud. I got Richard Seymour. I got Cornelius Griffin. I got Willie Blade. Like I got to throw some weight around here. Like I have to move massive humans, strong ass dudes. Who cares how many miles I can run? It doesn't matter. So, yeah, he was one of the absolute most difficult guys that I faced in my college career, no doubt.
Good.
Well, thank you for that, and we have definitely kept you past the time that we said we would. So I appreciate you giving us the extra time and answering some questions for us.
It's all good.
Yes, sir. We do appreciate it very much. So why don't you remind everybody where they can find you at, where they need to go see all your shows, all your stuff, all the times. Go ahead and put it all out there, man. You're busy, so we're super thankful, but where can they go get you at?
Cube Show is the podcast right here on YouTube. Please subscribe. Trying to build that audience. And Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you can also get it there. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 7 to 10 a.m., jocksfm.com, or there's a Jocks app. Just search WJOX. You can get that app in your app store. Probably be able to watch that pretty soon. Keep an eye on that for that in like the next week or so. And I will be in Lexington week 1, Saturday night, SEC Network, Southern Miss at Kentucky, 6:45. And then Monday nights, since this is an Alabama crowd, we're back with Roman Harper, Read and React, Monday nights on the SEC Network at 6 p.m.
Read and React, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. Well, we do thank you guys. Thank you very much. And everybody sit tight for a minute. We're going to take a small break. But you need to know when we come back, one, we'll kind of talk about what he just said, but we also need to show you what you're going to be looking forward to in the weeks coming and how Teague Take's going to look. So thank you again. Round of applause for Cole and all that you did for us today. I don't know if that thing is clapping or not. I can't
Oh, well, it is.
hear it. Okay, so y'all give us about a minute and a half, and we'll be back to finish out the second half of the show. This is George Teague, and I'm launching my own text-based Coffee Talk newsletter. My favorite part of this is that although you get to know me some, I get to share more of myself with you through this newsletter. It's going to come straight to your phone, and I can't wait to share personal stories, the highs and lows of my football journey, my work journey, all the things I'm doing in media, the passions that I have on and off the field. So I'm about inspiring, educating, empowering others through sports and beyond. Head over to joinsubtext.com/George Teague or go to today's show notes to join my newsletter today. All right. Well, we want to welcome everybody back. Man, it was pretty awesome to have Cole come on. It's truly a big blessing. I want to say to him again, I thank him for his time. The guy is super busy. You can hear how he has to study, what he has to do. I can't even imagine, JT, and as much as I'm wanting to do more of this, knowing every SEC team, every transfer they got, you know how much study you got to do to be able to talk about this stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I know how much studying I got to do just to get ready for my games on Fridays. So to be able to have to do this for at least 14 teams, you gotta put your head down and do it, because there's 100 guys on the roster.
Mm-hmm. So what was there anything that he said in there that maybe caught you off guard or make you think something different about anything, or something that stood out to you that you go,
Graham Mertz. There was one sentence that kind of like stuck in my head when he said, his numbers would have been good for, 80 different teams across the country. And my first thought was, yeah, because there's 80 different teams that actually don't belong playing at this level anyway. But that's it. That was my only thought really with that. I kind of agreed with most of what he was saying, especially with Arkansas. Just like, short of winning it all, I don't know if there's much Sam Pittman can do to keep his job. I mean, unless they're just okay with the status quo. But they might end up regressing pretty good now that Jefferson's not there anymore and Rocker Sanders is gone. So, and their O-line wasn't good last year for him being, that being his strength in coaching. So I don't know. Coach Love might be in for a rough year this go around.
He's not going to bet me at all on anything or whatever. Okay, so that was great. Thank you to him. And don't let me forget, I am going to – you see that? Well, I don't know. I guess I need to point this way. That thing right there, that's me hitting Terrell Owens and a small thing. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate one of those and send it to him and say thank you for coming on the show. On the other side over here, you guys make sure you watch. I'm working on my stuff here. Right. This is a signed cuts by Jones. You need to make sure you pay attention to Twitter and Instagram, because these are going to be on sale, JT. Actually, already are on Millions. They're limited edition, so you better go ahead and get them in. We're going. We appreciate cuts by Jones for doing that. All right, so let's go ahead and go to another segment. This will be new for you guys. This is something that I actually wanted to call. JT didn't shoot it down. I wanted to call it the pursuit of the recruits, right? Because we know how important it is when it gets to recruiting. So we want to start something weekly where we have a small little piece of some updates by James on recruits. And It doesn't have to be about Alabama. He gets to pick and choose on whatever he wants. Maybe it is
Oh,
about people, or maybe it is
well, see,
is
you didn't tell me all that. So it is
your,
just a quick update. Um,
that's all you need. You got 2 minutes. I'm looking at 49 seconds on that thing, so you got 52 minutes.
okay. Well, yesterday, Akeelan, or yeah, I think it's it. Akeelan, A. Deer, running back from Pittman, Mississippi. He's the number one running back in this class. He's the number three player in the state of Mississippi. He's 6'1", 200 pounds. He had originally committed to Ole Miss. He decommitted and he recommitted himself to Alabama yesterday. So what that does, after a series of decommitments, which we should have seen coming, because as we said way back, I don't remember who the guest was when I'd asked him about this, about how many linebackers that Alabama had actually had committed at the time, which I think, no joke, was 14. A lot of those players have decommitted and gone elsewhere. But what people had dubbed Husky Harsin has turned into Seattle Saban, because Alabama currently holds the overall number 2 ranking for the recruiting class of 2025. They're also composite number 2. So they are about 7 points behind Ohio State. I don't know that they're going to close that gap, but you never know. There's a long time between now and the late signing day. So as we get through the season, we'll figure out what else happens here, because Justice Terry is still out there. I don't think that he's coming. But you never know, you know?
All right. And there you have it. The recruiting update. Thank you for that, man. I do appreciate it very much. So the next piece, we want to give you guys a little bit of tease, I guess, on what you can happen to see. But first, I want to say again, man, all this stuff is happening because our title sponsor, primarily, right, Blackfriar Pub, located down in Dallas. It is the Bama home here in Dallas. You trying to find football games, watch parties, and all that kind of stuff, you need to be there
You
on
might
those
even
games.
see us there.
Yeah, and you probably will see us there. They got good food, good drink, good people, right? You just saw the ad a minute ago, full of people, right? I know we went there to basketball. Shoot, I couldn't even find a seat in the doggone place, right? But it is just full of Alabama folks. So if you're an Alabama fan, you're looking for a great place to go watch some games, or just go have some nice drinks and hang out, and you want to be down in, I guess it's considered uptown, huh?
Oh,
That
yeah,
you can
if
get
it's
down
uptown, it's
there.
just barely. It's
Yeah,
just
I
barely.
know. Yeah, but it's there. Okay, so this next piece is going to be brought to you by that, right? So JT, what we want to do this next week and beyond, you want to try to put this eloquently as well. You know how we want to split this into
Yeah.
two.
So I'll explain what we're going to be doing from this point forward. We are going to be breaking down film from the Alabama game. So first week, which is not next week. So after the first game, we'll be breaking down film from the Alabama West Kentucky game, and then we're going to look at the game that USF played against whoever it is they're playing on the first week. So each week you will get a review using film, which will look like what we're about to show you here in a second. You'll get 2 sessions. You'll get the review from us of the game that just happened, and then you'll get a little bit of scout film as we talk about the opponent upcoming. So you should get 2 different film sessions every week from us. We're really excited about it. I think this is going to be super fun, being able to watch a lot more college film than we had in the past.
Yep, we're going to be squeezing this in about an hour each time. So you're really going to have to be in, and we're going to be fast and furious with that. We do want to, this is my one ask for everybody that's listening, whether you listen to it live or somewhere else. We need about one more sponsor. You know, we're thankful for Blackfriar and On 3 for what they're doing. But there's another piece that we want to bring to you guys, and we're going to need a little bit of financial support on that. So if your company is interested in some type of sponsorship, or you personally,
Or
somewhere
super
between the.
chats. We've always look
Oh,
there's other ways to support the show. We got super chats,
that's
which
right.
are nice because that comes straight to us through YouTube. However, if you really want to get something for your money other than a super chat, there are many things that you can buy, like signed footballs, signed replica jerseys, and signed, I think, both the strip and Defender of the Star pictures, right?
Yes.
On millions.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
um, many ways that the better ways to spend your money than giving it to YouTube to write words on the screen.
That's right. That's right. So if you're interested, hit us up. You can go through teagsteak.com. There's a contact, find a way to be able to get there with it. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how this looks. So this will be our first. Ooh, boy, that thing look good. That thing look good. Okay, so we only got 4 clips on this, and this is just kind of a teaser. We might show a little bit more next week because it will be pregame. So we don't actually, obviously, since there's no games, we don't have any Alabama games with DeBoer or any Alabama games with Womack on it. So we pulled. I don't know which this would be from the defense. Troy.
Yes, this is South Alabama versus Troy. We've got 2 clips of South Alabama's defense, I believe, and then 2 clips of Washington's offense from some time ago.
Yep. So we want to at least show you this and show you what we can do and how we can do it. Very good film. So we want to show this first clip. We let it run. Do I got it on the wrong way? Is that Troy on offense though?
Yeah, Troy's on offense. USA's on defense, which is what we want.
Okay.
Womack is.
All right. So yeah. So I picked this play, JT, to really show about. So you can pause it for a second. So what I really wanted to be able to show is a lot of times we talked about how fast our linebackers trigger, right, and what they have to do up front. Sometimes I felt like we were slow to get to the ball. We had a good defense. We were physically dominant, but I feel like there's going to be a whole lot more run, even more your philosophy of what you take with your team at JP2 as far as how they shooting those windows in their gaps. So I wanted to. There's a couple of different pieces on this, but one of the ones I like this for you to see how the flow of the linebackers went, and they actually crossed in this. I know we didn't see a whole lot of linebacker cross.
Well, even before we get to looking at that, the first thing that I took away from this is, because we did a whole series of, we got a video that's still getting a lot of views of the basics of Alabama's new 4-2-5 defense, and it's kind of funny because the clip that you picked is very clearly a 3-4. This is they're in a tight front here, right? 2-4 eyes and a nose
0.
Yeah. So, I guess the moral of the story is don't get it twisted. Just because he likes to base out of a 4-2-5 does not mean that he can't get into a 3-4 and run some things that way and get into an on front,
which causes problems because you know where people are coming from. So go ahead and hit it. I need you to just kind of keep it focused on number 10 and number 9 because you see he moved the lineman and you see the cross there causing disruption up front, right? So the nose actually jumps over 10, shooting the gap, disrupting a lot of disruption. That left tackle actually probably could have made the play in the backfield if he would have kept his head up.
Yep.
I don't know.
And I've watched quite a bit of USA from this year. Number 30 is pretty good. I think he's actually their best defensive lineman.
Yeah. So those are just a sample where you can see. So we'll have wide copies and the tight copy and maybe sometime other angles, but definitely 2 for the most part is what we'll try to have. So I just thought this was interesting, not necessarily any other piece than just using the linebackers in different ways to make those linemen actually have to think. And then I know you like number 2.
Oh yeah, I was just looking at this and I was like, yeah, Malachi Moore is actually going to. I mean, this is not bad by number 2, but Malachi Moore is going to do this a bit better, because
and he's gonna hurt when he hit people too because he's more physical than he's ever been.
Yeah, because they've got a little bit of a game going here. Because 10 is going to have to close this A gap, right? So this is why he's actually in here trying to fight this.
Try your run. Can you do your draw tool? Where were you at now? Just curious to see if that is even gonna.
Yeah, I can. I don't quite like the draw tools as much as on here as much as.
Oh, you just can't draw freehand. There's a
Yeah,
freehand squiggly
I
button.
can still freehand over here though. It's no
You got a
big deal.
squiggly line. There you go. Oh well, your squiggly button you should freehand. The left one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I know
but
we're
look, see,
don't work.
you trying to do you're trying to do stuff live.
I'm doing too much. I'm doing too much. Your
Yeah.
clear button. Okay. Well, anyway.
Yeah,
I thought you
but
were.
what I was trying to get at here was, he's trying to close this gap. They've got 10 coming in to close that gap here. So this is why he's got a scrape, right? He's also seeing the pulling guard. So they're going to create an extra gap, and he is responsible for actually filling it. And I think he just waits a little bit too long. I think he sees it, but then I don't particularly think that he does the best job of actually making contact here. But I think Malachi Moore is going to do much better when it comes to sticking his running back.
He's going to be right in there. It's probably a tackle for a loss because he's going to go faster. Okay. All right. Next clip. This is the next clip.
Yeah.
So this was a pass play. My eyes, before you go, JT, one. So you're always going to see a lot of motion. He's talking about teams doing this kind of stuff. It was what they did with the safety at the top that they actually sent him to the deep third and let the corner actually stay in the flat. No, he went the other way.
Okay. Yeah. So we call this guillotine.
Yeah. So he kind of went that way. And a lot of times I would say just pretty basic on our cover 3 principles. They're all looking at the ball. But you're going to see a lot of reaction, particularly out of that free safety when you watch this go. So it is a very common kind of deal. So when you check it out, the corner at the top actually sits in the flat and the other guy's in the deep third who has to break on this ball. Right? It's not, I'm not saying this is a dynamic play or anything. It was just the fact, particularly when if you continue
it's a
to
different
watch
way
this
of rolling 3, right? You don't have because a lot of times what happens is this guy comes down, that guy goes back, he stays in the middle of the field, and he stays in the middle of the field, but you can change the look by.
And yes, it's exactly right. And they actually have this. So if I would have shown another clip, they had the exact same alignment, and they did what JT just said, bail out of there with the corner and the safeties inserting. So it's just something that the quarterback has to know.
Yeah, it messes with your read, right? Because if you know
it.
they're going to be in cover 3, they're saying, hey, look at this guy. If he runs out, throw the hitch or the flat or whatever. And one time he sits and you try to throw the deep ball, which is, I guess, I should say intermediate, which I guess is kind of what happens here, right? They're trying to get in here. Wasn't a very good throw, and it's a clean pocket. I don't know. I think they're probably a little upset with this one.
Yeah, he missed. But anyway, I just thought it was interesting that they're switching up, and if you look at the front again, even that they run the nose tackle twist on the inside.
Yep.
It developed kind of slow and late in. He's going to go around 99. So I'm sure we'll be able to run it a little bit better than that. But that guy's trying to pick the center and see if that guy can.
We call that a torch stunt.
Around. Yeah. So, you do stuff like that along with changing things up in the backfield. You could cause some problems from people. So there you go. All right, a little bit of offense. All right, I put this in here because it's a simple running play, right? It's zone, but it's kind of RPO ish, and it could be a read, right? So I was JT when I was looking at this, that actually if that's Jalen Milroe and you get this type of defense or the way they're playing, Milroe's going to pull this ball and head up in between the numbers and the hash. He is. Or they're actually going to have to be really worried about it because that
Yeah,
linebacker
well,
or
I
safety,
think this is a safety. I think he's gonna have to
he's going too
stay
fast.
here. Yeah,
Yep, he's going too fast, which forced him to go get in on the tackle. When you look at the back end, you'll see that he actually is the one who caused the problem with the running back because the running back's going to cut right back in that hole where he went, but he ain't going to be there because Jalen Milroe is going to be out there as a running threat, which means Jam or somebody else might be cutting back and hitting that seam. So, but when you look at the outside, you can see that there's still a bubble throw that he could throw to the outside receiver. They're blocking him, so he could. You got three options: hand it, run it, or throw it to the.
yeah, and this is probably also just an easy read anyway because it's 2nd and 1, right? You just need a yard to.
That's right.
Yard to get
That's
going.
right. So that was that. Then this next one, I just thought it was fun to show. So you're worrying about when people have to study. So as defensive coordinators, you don't have any film. People are having to watch where you came from, like we're doing, to say, what are they running? Well, check out Washington's offense right here. And JT, at first I didn't see it, JT. You had to go back and watch, but they actually had a play. Quarterback messed this up, man.
Oh well, shoot! You told me about it, and I looked at the formation. And I was like, oh, it's A11, and then I went back to watching the other film. But the
They had
problem
the
with
play.
this stuff all the time is that you got to know who's eligible and you got to know who's not. This particular formation seems pretty straightforward, but there are plenty of times where he might be on the line and this guy might be far enough back to where that this guy is now the eligible receiver. So defense needs to really be paying attention to who's on the ball, who's not off, and who's not on the ball.
That's correct. And so we're gonna let this play, but so they ended up trying to throw it to the eligible guy at the top, who's considered a slot receiver. I guess he is. They were trying to sneak him out. So it looks like a terrible play. But honestly, JT, he should have threw it to the guy behind the line.
Mm-hmm.
They only got one guy, 3 blockers, and somebody could have came up on that other corner, and he probably gets the. I mean, if he's just trying to get the first, it's 2nd and 1.
Yeah.
So that could have been a big play. But anyway, the point is, you're going to have to be studying and getting ready for everything that Coach DeBoer is going to be able to call. We already talked about quads and all the motions and the shifts and all this kind of stuff. And then if he jumps into something like this.
What an end zone angle.
Pretty damn good, ain't it?
Well, it's just the fact that, like, you go back to an end zone angle and this is, like, what you're used to seeing. And because the box is so janky.
Oh, wow. They got to open that up. Like, where all the linemen at? Because they're putting the rule on there. You got to put all the linemen there.
The other guy's over here.
Yeah, man. So I just think it's going to be fun to watch. I'm really excited about to see how they're going to handle things, this year. But there's a little bit of tease for you guys on what our film is going to look like. And we're super excited about that. We hope that you guys are too. We hope that you guys go ahead and make sure you give us some feedback on what do you think about our graphics and our stuff, and let us know how we can continue to improve. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button everywhere. Thank you again to all of you guys that are in on the Bama Standard channel, on Teague's Take. We love that. Yeah, we know you like that film study cuts, man, so we can get that, bro. Yes, sir. So thank you all, too, because we did hit a benchmark for us, a new stepping stone of hitting 2,000 subscribers. It's because of you guys. Thank you guys for that. So we know it's going to take us a while to get up to 3, but we're going to work on it. We're going to keep putting out the content, and if you guys like what we have, please share it and let people know where we're at. Thank you again to our sponsors, Black Fire Pub, and On 3. man, there's going to be so much. We can't even say enough about it. These newsletters we're going to be doing, talking, giving content, things you can subscribe, all this kind of stuff. So it's going to be good, right? JT, I know we went over a little bit. Just a little bit.
Minds.
I don't think so, because I think it was great. And I think we're probably going to have a hard time getting all this film in. As much as we want to say we get it in an hour. Trying to find 4 plays from Bama and 4 plays from whoever else, is watching, and us getting through it is going to be difficult.
You ran through my music bed.
Yeah.
I got to start the music over. You ran through the music bed.
I can't hear it.
Oh, that's awful.
So if you said it, so if you're saying something, I ain't heard it. I don't know if there's, maybe that's something we got to look at, but I haven't heard any of the stuff. That's why I can't tell. So since they heard the music, I'm sorry, but this is what we want to say. Next week, we're going week to week. So we're back again, JT. Make sure you know that we're every Wednesday at this point
we
now.
got WKU Scout Film next week.
Yes, WKU Scout Film. And we'll show probably a little bit more of this Washington film just so we can kind of talk about maybe with DeBoer or maybe we can fix defense. Anyway, we'll get both pieces to it. Okay, so thank you all. Subscribe. We'll see y'all next week, 8:15. Peace.